As Russia intensifies its attack on Ukraine on day 19, it's time to look at some of the most haunting images that have sent shockwaves out to the entire world. In less than 20 days, several parts of Ukraine have been laid to waste. Defining image number 1, on day 19, Russian troops have attacked the famous Antonov aircraft factory in the capital city of Kyiv. Heavy shelling has caused massive damage at this hugely successful and famous aviation plant. You can see a plume of smoke coming from the shelled site. Russian soldiers also attacked a high-rise building that is co-located with this facility, killing at least 2 persons as per the Kyiv administration. Big defining image number 2 on day 19. Heart-wrenching image that defines the Mariupol hospital tragedy. A heavily pregnant woman being carried out on a stretcher after Russian airstrikes. According to reports, this woman, along with her unborn child, didn't survive the attack. Defining image number 3 on day 19. Ukrainian forces have pulled out an unexploded bomb from an apartment building in the northern city of Chernihiv. The video shows OFAB 500 air bombs being pulled out of a window from a residential area with the help of a crane. The bomb had the capacity of causing major destruction in the city. Big defining image number 4 on day 19. War causes displacement, famine, poverty, injury and disease. This picture on your screen show the bodies of those who've succumbed being carried out at a Kyiv suburb as Russian troops have ramped up their efforts to encircle the Ukrainian capital. Defining image number 5 on day 19. The Russian Defense Ministry has released a video on Sunday showing strikes being carried out with the help of drones. The video that you're looking at shows unarmed combat aircraft taking off and bombing Ukrainian cities. The location of the bombing is said to be somewhere near Kyiv. Image number 6 on day 19. Russia targets residential areas of Chernihiv, claims Ukraine. Heavy shelling has led to buildings gutted in several different fires. The video released by the Ukrainian government shows the amount of destruction caused to civilian areas. Ukrainian firefighters can be seen trying to rescue those stranded in these facilities. Defining image number 7 on day 19. Russian troops are said to have also destroyed a food factory in Brovary, just east of Kyiv. Images show a huge plume of familiar smoke coming out of the depot there. Buildings have been shelled. Ukrainian firefighters can be seen trying to douse the flames here as well. Defining image number 8 on day 19. With each passing hour, Russian forces continue to encircle Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. The video on your screen shows Russian troops and armored vehicles heading towards the outskirts of Kyiv. More and more numbers increasing with each passing hour. Heavy gunfire and fighting has been reported in these outlying areas of the larger Kyiv area in the last few days. Defining image number 9 on day 19. A school, another school completely destroyed in the fighting, this time in the south-central city of Mykolaiv. Images show the wreck of a building and firefighters attempting to fight the destruction here as well. This was once a school building. Big defining image number 10 on day 19. Ukraine claims that at least 35 people were killed in Russian bombing of the Yavoriv city of the country. The images show the aftermath of that claimed Russian bombardment. A car damaged, buildings destroyed, a lot of destruction in this particular neighborhood. Non-stop bombings appear to have reduced this neighborhood at least to rubble. And finally, day 19 and the 11th defining image. Russian aircraft are said to have dropped multiple bombs on the villages of Dergachi near Kharkiv, close to the Russian border in eastern Ukraine. The images on your screen show fumes coming out from that particular factory. A familiar sight, big black plume of smoke at another target that's been hit. And joining me live now, even as Russia and Ukraine are all set for the fourth round of peace talks, a great deal of hope is being placed on what the next few days could be. In the last 24 hours, a visible escalation in the military operations has been seen, especially in and around Kyiv. One of the most defining images today in Ukraine's capital has been the bombing of the the famous Antonov aircraft factory. Joining me live from Moscow is Tatiana Kukhareva. She's a senior journalist with Sputnik News. Also with me is Serhii Mirankov. He is a reporter, a journalist, citizen in Kyiv, joining us live this afternoon. Thanks very much to the both of you. Good to see the both of you safe. Tatiana, coming quickly to you first. The talks that are happening have reached their fourth round now. The Ukrainian president has just said that the entire purpose of these talks, Tatiana, is for them to end in what is hoped to be a face-to-face meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin. Do you think that's where this is headed?
Good day to you as well. We've seen and heard so many statements from the Ukrainian president these past days. I mean, not a day goes by. I think on Friday was the last time that we discussed that, he's asked for a face-to-face, and he keeps claiming that this is where it's headed. However, we've seen, and all we see are statements, are very vague statements saying like, look, I have asked for Israel to mediate, but, we don't get the response from the other side. And in the meantime, I mean, we've heard the Russian president call for those talks from day one of the operation. And, in the beginning, they were stalling. They were not agreeing to talks at all. Then there was the whole debacle about the fact that, the Ukrainian side was unhappy about the place. First, we want to meet in Minsk. No, we don't want to meet in Minsk. No, let's meet in Hungary. Then now let's meet in Israel. It doesn't sound like a genuine kind of, will to actually do that face to face. I mean,
okay.
We can presumably kind of say that.
How would you respond to that? Tatiana from Moscow says the gesture from Ukraine does not sound genuine. She says that, President Zelensky says these talks should move towards a Putin-Zelensky meeting. But Tatiana says all the gestures from Ukraine's side don't look genuine and don't sound genuine. Serhii, how would you respond to Tatiana?
First of all, I'd like to respond to Tatiana. Good morning, good day, Tatiana, good day, India. Like 19 days, I'm listening radio. Because all the time we are moving in the car and we are listening our president who are talking to our nation. He is the president of nation who are in war. The president of the country, which country were attacked crucially and suddenly. And right now we're talking about any kind of negotiation with our partners, and all the statements which are going from our officials, from the president, they are helping people to understand the current situation. And if Putin's, if he don't want to talk, or his people from his side don't want to talk with Ukrainians, what are we talking about? We can talk a lot about the humanitarian corridors, but let's face it, we are the country who were attacked. Our territories were occupied since 1914, and right after 8 years, they're increasing their attacks on Ukrainians. And now we see the maps of the destruction in the cities, in the towns, the roads, the bridges, all the infrastructures, hospitals. So
before I bring in Oleksandra Romanovtsova, who's an activist in Kyiv, Tatiana, do you want to respond to Serhii? He says these are not equal talks. Your country has invaded Ukraine, says Serhii, And, the destruction is continuing with each passing hour. So how can you comment on genuineness and gestures?
For obvious reasons, as a journalist, unfortunately, and a journalist who's been at this for quite a few years now, I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to watch over the events in Ukraine since day one. It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was the 30th of November when President Yanukovych declined to sign that Euro Association agreement, and the mess that was the Euromaidan, first protests and then the coup d'etat unfolded. So I love the fact that whenever you talk to people from the Ukrainian side, especially activists or just people stuck in Kyiv, they just keep on repeating that whole position that President Zelensky transmitted in his first addresses, back when everybody still believed that, the West is going to come in and literally step into this conflict militarily. The fact of the matter is that President Zelensky, be that as it may, is a president, obviously, and nobody questioned that. But your country has been at war that Kyiv used to call anti-terror operation. They were killing people who used to be citizens of the same country. And suddenly and somehow everybody forgot about it. And now we're talking about sovereignty and integrity and the fact that, President Zelensky is a president of an entire nation.
Okay.
If you listen to the people that actually are being evacuated from the villages, the eastern towns, especially the ones who were not in Donetsk or Lugansk republics, but on the border, the ones that have faced the most fire within these 8 years, they're incredibly happy to stop, being bombed, to stop being shelled.
You've made that point. Tatiana, since you mentioned activists, we do have an activist also on this discussion. Oleksandra is an activist from Kyiv. Oleksandra, you've heard the point that's just been made by Tatiana from Moscow. How would you respond to that? She says activists are parroting what President Zelensky has said from that first speech he made. Respond.
It's a big lie, because President Zelensky say exactly what nations think. It's big difference into our reality. In Ukrainian reality, even our president will be not speak. That's not stop the Ukrainians who really have a possibility now fight for their freedom. It's one. It's second. It's just a big difference between reality in Russia, whereas if somebody's happened with their president, they will stuck. Here in Ukrainian, if something happened with our president, he will keep a silence. That's not stop nothing, because it's a huge number of the people who self-organized, and now exactly it's not war between two presidents. It's war between one president, exactly Putin, and his silence really in his society, and only brave people like, for example, Human Rights Defenders Organization Memorial, who was banned by so-called Supreme Court in Russia Federation. We, like Human Rights Defender Organization from Ukrainian, we keep touch with whole human rights organization from Russia, whole the 8 years of this, and even now in this during this whole situation, because Russia can exactly imagine that people with same languages, with understood truly, who is really have a long period of same history, have a democracy views. That's why Putin try and destroy Ukrainian like democracy chance. That's why they don't want to show their population that it's possible to be responsible for your life, for your state, and that's why Zelensky not provide exactly what he thinks. That's exactly so for whole Ukrainian population, whole nation, and even foreigners who is in our country and know Ukraine.
Okay, so Oleksandra says that President Zelensky is speaking for every Ukrainian, and it doesn't matter if the people and the Ukrainians are simply amplifying what he's saying. Let's move to the next point. I want to keep it as specific as possible. Tatiana, you heard President Zelensky also go out today. He met with, wounded soldiers. He sent out a message also saying that it's Ukraine today and it'll be NATO and the other countries tomorrow. He's basically escalated that warning also to the West. The sentiment of having been betrayed has become one of warning, of ultimatums, of anger now. What did you think of that? President Zelensky sort of wagging a finger at the NATO and saying, you guys are next if you sit on your thumbs right now.
Well, he has no other strategy left, does he? Because obviously, with the amount of military aid, the amount of money that the Americans put into Ukraine, that I'm sure my Ukrainian counterparts are going to deny, they're going to say that it never happened. The NATO trainers that were present in Ukraine, that trained Ukraine's fighters, or at least tried to train them, the whole narrative was built so that, the President Zelensky was kind of very sure for very weird, to me at least, weird reasons, that NATO is going to step in whenever some sort of altercation with Russia actually happened. And it was very clear right now, if you look at this, if you turn down the emotional side of it, which I am, and I appreciate how difficult it is when you are in Ukraine to do that. But if you look at the things logically, and if you look at his statements in the beginning and the statements that he's making now, it's very clear he was completely sure for some reason that the US and NATO are going to go after him and engage in an actual war with Russia. No, which is preposterous. It's a preposterous belief. And now when they have said it, and they've said it over, so many times I can't even keep count. Every day, literally, they keep confirming that NATO is not getting involved militarily. The US is not getting involved militarily.
I want to get a specific response on precisely that point, Serhii.
Yeah.
Serhii, the words from President Zelensky saying, it's Ukraine today, it'll be NATO next. Tatiana says, Ukraine has been fooled. Ukraine has been betrayed by NATO and the West. And President Zelensky has been under this illusion that NATO is going to step in when it never had any plans to do so.
I can just answer the same about the statement of Tatiana from Moscow, from Sputnik agency, which just few days ago they took by themselves. They say close radio Echo of Moscow. It was one of the libertarian radio station, and right now Sputnik News is working there, so it was information filled. About this, the next statement.
Stay away from personal insult.
I was just saying that. When President Zelensky talking about the NATO and the probably invasion of one of the countries of NATO, it's the truth. Because right now we see that the Russian government or Russian president, I don't know who exactly moderating these ideas, but they still wanted to be ensured that the result of the Second World War is finished and they're creating a Third World War with new geopolitical strategies and of influence of the countries of Poland, of Lithuania, Estonia, etc. And by the way, I just want to mention two things. Russia, due to our information through the diplomatic channels, Russians since the beginning of war asking very hardly from Chinese partners to give them armory, etc., and etc. And that's why Chinese right now they are like stepping back. They are not included in these processes, and they're waiting. Maybe, and as we all know, by the way, just want to mention to Russians if they're watching us right now, so be aware that because your east border are not covered by Russian armies, because all of them right now in Ukraine, and who knows, maybe China or other border neighbors will come to help Russian people to be free from today's regime in Russia.
Okay.
Last point, I just want to mention which Russian journalists, or not, I'm saying about the most of them, not a lot of them, regarding about the history. They forgot about the Boris Nemtsov, one of the biggest fighter, Moscow Square, on the Red Square, near the Putin's residence. And he said that if Ukraine will win after 2014 as a country, as a nation, Russians will go fight. Because it's like a alternative reality for Russians. Because Ukrainians, yes, we had lots of problems in this 30 years. And lots of problems in 30 years we had thanks to our neighborhood from Russia, from Belarus. So one information field.
Okay, so Serhii has put a lot out there. I can see Tatiana shaking her head. She wants to respond. Let me just get Oleksandra to just add to that. Oleksandra, on the point that Serhii made, but on the more specific point that Russia appears to be confident now, Oleksandra, that NATO is not going to do anything. Your country has been asking for 20 days for a no-fly zone. That's not happening. Russia is confident. Ukraine is isolated.
Ukraine is not isolated. You need to understand that around of us, it's neighbors, and their neighbors, first of all, it's societies. I understood that for Russians, it's really complicated to understood inside their hand that war, it's not between parliaments or between presidents. We have a lot of neighbors who are just a simple people who push their politics to do something, who push their diplomacy to do something, because it's open democracy society. For Russians, it can be understandable at all, because exactly, if we will speak about journalists, sure, you close mostly hold the alternative journalistic groups which say something other than Kremlin just textbooks. So it's really important to understand that it's not only about like NATO. NATO, it's first of all interesting for us because it's like organized military system who can support us. But we understood that if it's not happened, that's not stop our struggle, because our struggle is for Ukrainian, or we fight or we are not exist. And I'm human rights defender. I know what I mean. For example, as for me, we have more than 700 hostages, Russian soldiers, and we now monitoring that nothing happened with them, because we know what that means, rules of war, what that means, why hostages need to be keep a normal situation. It's not stop only because Russian Federation decided that it need to be happened like this. We are work, we will fight, and with NATO or without, but we have a neighbors. It's society who
the point is there doesn't appear to be a choice at this point of time, and that's what's made the situation even more complicated. I have only 30 seconds left, so I'll leave it with Tatiana to have the last word here on that specific question. We're on day 19, Tatiana. What is the end game? We've seen a lot of destruction inside Kyiv today, a city that's been, that the Russian military has tried to encircle over the last many days now. The attacks are happening inside Kyiv. What, in your view, is the end game? Is this the most decisive phase of this war? Because I'm not asking you to comment on the military aspect, but there are talks happening as well. Is there an end game in sight, according to you?
Of course there is. The neutral status for Ukraine, the recognition of Donetsk and Lugansk republics, and also the recognition of the status of Crimea, which, again, my counterparts would say was occupied, but I grew up there. I have friends and relatives there, and is still very happy with its decision. In the meantime, when it comes to the military operation, again, if we turn down the emotional side and look at the progress, look at the actual maps, you'll see the operation is progressing, and you now can very clearly see there's a plan there. There's a very, very well-crafted scenario, and however our Ukrainian counterparts want to portray it, there's little room for interpretation. We're talking about the denazification and demilitarization and the neutral status. That's been the demand from the very beginning, even when the president just recognized the both republics and asked for, demanded that the shelling stops, that Ukraine stopped killing people. Well, now it is time to actually see that through, I guess.
Oleksandra, since you've been vigorously shaking your head, I will give you 30 seconds to answer. You look like you want to say something. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
Sorry, you can, if you want to do something like denazification or demilitarization, start it from Moscow, seriously. So, because it's not, you can denazificate whole the Ukraine, whole the population. Seriously, it's 38 million people here who struggle because it's attack for their homes. So don't be waiting that somebody have a success here, because each woman, each children, each grandma and grandfather will fight with you. Seriously, I'm now sitting in Kiev and I'm sitting in basement because you're bombing us, because it's exploded there. You're not hearing it because I'm really deep inside the ground. So, and we will waiting here any attacks, and we'll be fight for that. And I'm human rights defender. If I say that you're really journalist who not understood what exactly happened here.
Serhii, you want to add to that, to what Oleksandra said? Okay, Serhii's dropped out of the conversation, so we'll have to leave it there for the moment. It's been day 19, over nearly 3 weeks of non-stop military operations inside Ukraine. Tatiana said there is an end game in sight, very clearly enunciated. The Ukrainians say, what's the point of these talks if you're continuing to bomb our cities? Oleksandra sitting in Kyiv, which is being bombed. Tatiana was with us from Moscow. We will continue to have these conversations as the two countries talk. And even though very little faith is being placed in whether those talks can achieve anything beyond tactical humanitarian corridors for now, we'll have to see whether it results in President Zelensky and President Putin meeting. Is that the key to bringing this war to an end? Tatiana, Oleksandra, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being with me here on India Today.